Hello everyone, welcome to our live video today. Happy New Year. I hope you've had a fantastic break. I certainly have. It is Sunday today and I'm back in the office, a very dead office I might add, but I'm quite glad about that. I'm glad that no one else is in here on a beautiful sunny summer's day in New Zealand. But what I am glad to be here to do is to show you the back end and behind what we do inside the PCOS protocol, so that you know before you sign up what exactly it is that you're going to be doing week by week over the 12 weeks. Because I know that it can be so hard to know what you're signing yourself up for. Is it just a general kind of diet plan or telling you to eat healthy and exercise more? And that's absolutely not the case. This is a very specific program that I have developed over years of working with women one-on-one who have PCOS. And after many, like thousands of patients, I found that what we could see was from their blood test results and their symptoms that they fit into very specific kind of types or underlying issues that can be contributing to their PCOS symptoms. So what I want to do is to show you how I've kind of developed that and what we do week by week. So you can see, okay, in week 1, it's all of what we do, week 2, week 3, and exactly what you can expect, so that you're not thinking, okay, I'm just, wasting my money signing up for a regular old diet plan, which I've tried thousands of times before. So this is the aim of today. Please ask questions. I just have to actually just check. I'm just going to check in here and see that we're streaming okay into the Facebook group. I use this technology called Be Live so I can show you my screen. So I hope that you can see there on the other side my screen so I can show you exactly what we're going through week by week. But it just does mean that I just have to pop back into Facebook and check that you can actually see me in here. And that also that you can ask any questions. Cool, so I can see here who we've got on, and just want you to know that you can just comment below as well, and I can pick up those comments. I might not be able to see them exactly when you ask them, but I will be able to come back to that at the end and answer any questions as well. So as I said, the PCOS protocol is a 12-week program, and it is very specific based on your underlying bodily systems, what's going wrong there as to what we're going to do. So PCOS, just to take a step back, is a condition of our genes not mixing correctly with our environment. So our genes that predispose us or help us to survive in a situation of famine or sometime where our environment isn't so favorable. So those genes that help us to survive that time, i.e. help us to hold weight very quickly or turn off ovulation very quickly because it knows that it's not the right time to bring a baby into the world. So those are the genes that are actually helping us to survive. And so we've actually been adapted to survive. We are the ones that will be, if there's an apocalypse, we're going to be the ones that survive the best. But unfortunately, in our current environment of so much stress, processed food, lack of nutrients and minerals in our diet, lack of sleep, those are also the things that then don't mix very well with these genes that we have. So we can think about it that we're always going to have those genes. We can't do anything about that. But what we can do is change our environment to optimize it so it works best with our genes. And this is why I don't believe there is any such thing as just eating healthy and one kind of diet or one kind of exercise for us, especially with PCOS. Is because we have really specific needs, and when actually we address those underlying issues that could be contributing, so the environmental stuff that could be working not well with our genes, then we can actually reverse those symptoms. So this is a little bit airy-fairy, but a specific example would be, say, for example, if your insulin or blood glucose is not working properly. And that was very much the case for me and up to 80% of women with PCOS. So I was at university. I was doing my double degree with honours in exercise science and physiology and nutrition. I was competing for New Zealand in track and field and then latterly triathlon. So I was living in a student flat with 6 other students who were all partying hard. And here I was kind of getting up in the morning at 6 a.m. to go swimming training or training 20 hours a week for my competition. I was eating what I thought was a perfect diet because that's what the sports nutrition guidelines at the time were saying in terms of really high carbohydrate, lots of high sugary sports drinks and gels, And also I was quite highly stressed because I was doing my honours thesis. So I was doing a lot of hours. So I think this was a bit of a perfect storm where I had lack of sleep, high stress, lack of high stress not only from my honours thesis but also from training so much, and also I had a really high sugary, high carbohydrate diet. So when you look at me, what happened to me was I started putting on weight very quickly, even though I was eating very low calorie, very low fat diet. I was training 20 hours a week, so I was in a calorie deficit, but I was still putting on weight. I was getting sick all the time. I was on antibiotics for about 3 months, really bad bronchitis and pneumonia, which obviously wasn't great when you're an athlete either. And I felt so tired. Like I'd wake up in the morning, I never felt refreshed. I'd always be waking up feeling groggy, feeling very, very, very tired. I was like not able to get to sleep very easily at night. I was sort of lying there at night, tired and wired. And I was also lacking a lot of vitamins and minerals in my diet as well. When I did some blood testing, I was very deficient in vitamin D, vitamin B12, folate, and all of that culminated in me being diagnosed with insulin resistance, which is pre-type 2 diabetes, which I had just spent the last 5 years learning was almost impossible for an athlete to develop because it was a disease of people who didn't exercise enough or ate too much McDonald's. And I was like, well, not quite sure how I developed this, given that I'm training 20 hours a week, and that I also had PCOS as well. I thought the PCOS was kind of causing insulin resistance, so I sort of blamed it on that. After much more study later, I figured out that actually it was a lot to do with my genetics. So I have 2 grandmothers who have type 2 diabetes, which predisposes me to that. So even though I could be eating the same thing, doing the same training as my counterparts in my triathlon team, they were eating very similar things. I went on to develop insulin resistance. They did not. I think this is partly due to genetics and just what I was doing wasn't working well with my genes. So what I then learned from that was that actually I needed to modify what I was eating, how I was exercising, how I was sleeping, what nutrients I was getting, so that I could actually reverse my PCOS symptoms. So at this stage, I didn't have a period for 3 years. And they keep on telling me this is because I was an athlete, but I knew from the research that that's only the case if you've got very low body fat, and I was actually gaining weight. So I had more than enough body fat to sustain ovulation. So I hadn't had a period for 3 years. I had quite bad acne around my chin and jawline. I was putting on weight, especially around my abdomen. And I was just, and so these were kind of my PCOS symptoms. And so once I actually modified my exercise, so instead of doing lots of high intensity endurance activity, I focused more on strength-based work. I modified my diet, so instead of having such high amount of high sugary carbohydrates, I modified that to very specific amounts of kind of protein and fat and carbohydrate, and specific carbohydrates that my blood sugar and insulin could tolerate, not just any old carbohydrate. And then I learned this through glucometer testing and testing my blood glucose, which is exactly what I teach you in the PCOS protocol as well. And I upped my nutrient levels. I got them back into balance as well, because our nutrients, our vitamins and minerals are so important for how our insulin functions. And not only our insulin, but our stress hormones, our inflammation and our thyroid. And those all contribute to our PCOS symptoms. So how it kind of works, what we think it works at the moment is we know that high levels of insulin in the blood, they can drive up testosterone, or luteinizing hormone, and that can disrupt ovulation, and the high levels of testosterone can be what causes the facial hair growth, the acne, the hair loss, and also the insulin can affect your mood, your energy levels, and many of those symptoms that you might get with PCOS as well. So what we found is when we actually address that insulin, we can bring down the testosterone and luteinizing hormone. We can get you back ovulating relatively quickly in a few months. We can help to reverse the acne, the hair growth, and the fatigue, and also some mood symptoms that come along as well. So this is why what I talk about is focusing on sort of the root cause, or what are those things that are contributing to make your genes and what your environment is basically create a perfect storm for PCOS to be present. So we focus on those root causes like insulin, stress hormones, inflammation, thyroid. Then we can actually improve our hormonal balance, and then our body will kind of start to sort itself out. So this is exactly what I was doing with my patients for many years, and then why then I then took that, and because what I was seeing with my one-on-one patients is that while the information that they were getting, while they was working really well for them, what they needed was not just to see me once a month. They needed to see me once a week, and also have the community support of having other people that were going through the same things as they were. So that's why I developed the protocol, because I wanted to be able to give them that support on a weekly basis. They might not need it every week. It might just be a quick check-in question, but it meant that I was able to be there for them to answer those questions quickly, and that they were also able to then get the group support of a community going through the same things that they were. So they could get ideas, they could see other people struggling, they could, and then empathize with them, think, yes, okay, it's not just me that's finding this hard, and get support from other people who are also finding it hard but making it through and making those changes sustainable as well. So that's why I created the week by week module. So we make changes every week, because that was the other thing I found working with one-on-one patients, is that I would give them, say, 3 things to do or 4 things to do, and then we'd come back and they hadn't been able to really achieve any of them well because they were overwhelmed. And so if we actually broke down those changes into a weekly basis, we were much more successful, because they could be like, right, okay, let's change one simple thing like your breakfast for this week. Focus on that. Then next week, let's focus on the rest of your meals. Then the next week, let's focus on your supplements. Then next week, your exercise. And so with those changes rolled out like that, they could actually be sustainable and make them work, rather than feeling overwhelmed and confused and not really being able to do anything right. Okay, so this is exactly why we developed the protocol the way it is. So what you'll get is, as you can see on here on the side of my screen, this is what our system is that we use to help roll this out to you. So every week you'll see week 1, what's your why, week 2, identify your type, week 3, it's a different changes for each type, and then we go through from there. Then also we have a private Facebook group as well, where everyone can connect and share their challenges, share their successes, and that we can help provide kind of encouragement and support throughout the week as well. So what I'll do, and then also, and I'll show in a minute, we also have a weekly Q&A where I bring you on, we can actually answer your questions there, and we have a good chat about what's going on. So if we go through this, I'll show you. So in week 1, we go through what's your why. And the reason I do this is because what I found was you're going to be making some significant changes to your life, and often that they are not easy. And while, maybe 12 weeks is not a big time to make those changes, over the weeks and months and years, actually you need to know why you're doing things, because when it gets hard, unless you've got a really strong why, you're not going to have as much success maintaining those changes. So that's what we do in week 1. So what's your why? And then, as you can see here, what we do is we go through and we have our weekly Q&As as well. So here we are here, and as we can go through, and I'll just try and show you here.
Another child.
So what I do is, as you can see here, this is our weekly video, and so we can actually bring you on if you were there, able to be there live in the Q&A, and actually then talk to you about what's going on, what's your question is. So in this, it might have been that this was Donna, one of our participants before, was struggling with actually, her why, or she wanted to just talk about that. We could actually go through and have a conversation with her. And it means that I also get to know you a lot better. So if I know what you're struggling with, I know why Donna's doing what she's doing, then I can chime in the Facebook groups and be like, hey, look, it's much more personal to you as well. And it makes it a lot more enjoyable for me as well, because I know that I get that, that built the relationship with you as well, which is the thing that I really cherish. So that's week 1. In week 2, we go through what's your PCOS type, and this is where we go through. So each week you have your video, and then you have the actual what you need to do, and then as you can see here, sorry, I'm just going to get
who we've got here.
Sorry, the video.
Excellent, great to see a few of you being able to join. I'm just going to quickly check the Facebook group and just see if anyone is having any challenges joining. We just had our
we go. So that's just the weekly Q&A playing there. So but what you get is you get that weekly video. So it's explaining what you need to do. For this one, it's the type identifier. You then click on this link and it will take you through to a separate web page where I've got a quite an extensive quiz built there which takes your symptoms, and if you do have any blood tests you can pop them in there as well, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. We just go off symptoms there, and that will pop out then with what's your type. If you then want to go through and do any further testing, so maybe it was that popped out you just had symptoms, and those symptoms say we look at like your waist circumference. We also look at things like sugar cravings, energy levels, and that can all signify to me whether your insulin's working properly or not. But then if you want to go through and do any further testing, I talk to you about what the most important things are for you to do. So we go through, have that video there which shows you about the further testing, which is all optional.
This is the optimum range for...
And as you can see here, you can see what I recommend is the insulin assay, and they give you the optimum ranges and what I'm looking for there so that you can help to understand what you need to do and what you're looking for. I then talk to you about what each component means. So what does it mean if your insulin's not working properly? What does it mean if you're, and then the further testing here, so you've got the PDF that you download for that. Then we've got the research papers. So if you want to see why, for example, I recommend something called the insulin assay is the best test for insulin, then here are all the research papers to show you kind of the backing for that. Why HbA1c misses most cases of insulin resistance and shouldn't be used, so it actually misses about up to 90% of early stage insulin resistance. Why the normal fasting blood glucose reference range is too high, why it shouldn't be used, and then so that you can see all the research behind that. And that's great if you need to, say, ask your doctor for some tests, and you need to provide some evidence as why you're asking for not just HbA1c but the insulin assay. So that's all about the insulin assay. Then we have, say, for adrenals, why your adrenals can be contributing to your PCOS symptoms, the further testing for those. And same thing with, again, the research papers, same thing with inflammation, and same thing with your thyroid. Okay, so this is all just 1 week, but there's a lot of content in here that you don't need to use to, you don't need to actually go through and do all of this, but it's just for your kind of back end, your information there. I also showed how to order your own blood tests online if you're in Australia, the UK or the US. I've also just updated this time as well for Europe. We can do now as well. And this means that if you can't get those tests through your doctor, you can go and order them online. And especially in, say, the US, I find that we often find that ordering through online here is actually cheaper than paying out of pocket or even from insurance for many people as well. And it means that you can just order exactly what I'm recommending. You don't have to have that fight with your doctor about what to order. And then, of course, we have the Q&A. So as we see here, we've got me talking, and then same thing, I am able to bring on other participants through here. So we've got, I just saw Laura pop up, and Melissa. So this is Melissa here. She was in my last PCOS Protocol group as well. And as I said, I know all of these women. There's over 100 women in the program, and I know everyone personally through coming on to these Q&As and understanding what their challenges are. So that's why it is so much more personalised than just getting, say, a diet plan. So that's the week 2 why, and I'm just going to quickly pop over to the questions. See you guys. Hello, Jalissa. Amazing. I will have a look. You said I work with you one-on-one. Yep. Would you recommend I do the protocol as well? I'll have a look back through what we've done one-on-one and see whether this will help. What I generally say is that I'll have a look. A lot of what we do in one-on-one, it will be a repeat in the protocol. But if you're having challenges with sticking with a lot of these changes, so what I was saying before, why the whole reason I created the protocol was because I found that women like you, Jalissa, who I won't see every week, you might be having questions or you might be having challenges and you need that support, but you're not seeing me until the next month. And so actually it's much more effective if I can give you those, if I can, help guide you on that weekly basis rather than waiting for you to, waiting for that next appointment. The other thing too is that it's very helpful for that community support. So that's also the other reason why I created the protocols, because I saw that, those that had that community support of having women go through the same thing, knowing that other people were struggling in areas, seeing other people's successes was what helped spur them on. And so in our private Facebook group that we have for this, every Sunday, I get you to tell me what your one success was for the week. What's the one small thing? It doesn't have to be, I lost 12 inches off my waist, or I managed to, do 5 workouts or whatever. It could be that, it could be just a small mindset change. It could be that I managed to stick with the changes, and we're making week 3, the breakfast changes. I managed 3 out of 7 great breakfasts this week, where normally I wouldn't have even managed 1. So those are the small changes that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for anything major. So that's why I get you to tell me what your success is each week, because that's going to help you then spur you on to be like, yeah, you know what, I can do this. And also seeing other women's changes that they're having, like, some of the highlights this round, the last round, were a couple of women who hadn't had a natural period in years and years, like 10 years, suddenly getting a period back within 2 months, just because of small changes that we're making, changes in their diet, changes in the way that they move. And I think it was Jennifer was the one that had that, and I think I've posted her comment on the web page as well, saying that this is the first natural period in 10 years. So really great to see that. And so that's why when you do see that, you're like, wow, okay, well, if she can do it, then so can I, if I kind of stick with this. So that would be what I think would be great, great for you to understand if you wanted to join the protocol, Julissa. Does that make sense? Comment, check me another comment if you're still on, and we'll just make sure that makes sense to you. Kylie, see, with the meal plan, exercise plan, and protocol be tailored to me and my type? Absolutely. So this is a really good question for now. So going into week 3, what we do in week 3 is we make the first dietary changes for your type. So we've got, as you can see here, type 1, 2, and 3, and type 1, 2, and 3, and then we have type 4 and 5 who are different. Okay, so type 1, 2, and 3, this is your video, these are your PDFs here, and then type 4 and 5, this is your video and your PDFs here. So it's very specific to what your type is. Same thing in week 5, we also change. So week 5, type 1 and 2, they go into mindful eating, which helps you to understand whether you need to snack, when you're hungry, when you're not, and also what to be eating for the other meals. Whereas type 3 and 4, we focus on sleep in that one, because that's week 5. Type 3 and 4 and 5, we focus on mindful eating. So similar, a bit change. And type 1 and 2, we focus on getting out of the dieting mindset, which is really important, because I found that for so many of us who have had weight issues, insulin being one of the big factors there, is that we are very focused on kind of this dieting mindset of focusing on calories and amount of fat in our diet and so many things, where actually we need to be and also weighing ourselves all the time. And so what I help you there is that this is not a diet plan. And also, the main thing is I found that people were really focused on having to be perfect. So it's like, if I just miss one thing, so if I don't get the breakfast right every single day of the week, then it's like, oh, I've fallen off the wagon, I might as well just eat what I want for the rest of the, of the day, and then try and start again tomorrow. So what I talk to you about in that is really focusing on progress, not perfection, and being very kind to yourself around these changes, because you have been through probably a lifetime of dieting, and we actually want to now try and reset your mind to a different way of eating and moving, and that can take a long time. And so what I want you to focus on is that there will be times where you don't make the best choice, where you do, for emotional reasons, end up going to the vending machine and grabbing a Snickers bar. But if you understand why you've done that, then you can be a lot more compassionate to yourself, and we can actually focus on just getting on to the next meal and making the best choice possible at that next meal, rather than going, oh, well, I've blown up, I'm going to eat what I want for the rest of the day or the week or the month, and then start again next time. So that's why we really put a huge focus on this as well, especially for type 1 and 2, which is sort of the insulin resistance and adrenal, because they see that so much in insulin resistance. We also have weight gain. When we have weight gain, we have so much negativity that's been put on us by the media, by everything in terms of our weight and it being our fault. Whereas if you understand that actually the reason why you went to that vending machine was because you had a really poor night's sleep last night, that reduced your insulin sensitivity by 30%. You then, so your body is then actually craving carbohydrate and especially those sugars. It wants you to make you feel good again. And then maybe something happened, maybe when you got to work, someone said something to you that wasn't too nice, or it was a bit terse with you, or maybe when you were leaving home, your partner didn't say I love you or something like that, and you were something like, oh gosh, what's going on, what's happening to us, and then your mind starts going. And that was actually what set off this cascade of events that ended up you being at the vending machine at 3 p.m. rather than actually you just not having enough willpower. And so what we do then is we help you understand, okay, well, sleep is really important. As I said, it reduces your insulin sensitivity by 30% if you don't get enough sleep. So if we actually then realize, okay, the reason I'm here, why I was driven to go and get that Snickers bar was because of all these reasons. And so what I can't change that now, what I can do is focus on my dinner being fabulous and then trying to get a great night's sleep tonight to help me with that, and then get back on track rather than going, oh my God, I failed, I'm useless, it's my fault, I can't do any of this. And then, getting to that negativity spiral, which then leads us into self-destructive behaviors. So that's why we focus a lot, not on just the what, but also on the why and the mindset and everything to help you be consistent with this. Then the next week, so that's week 4, week 5, type 1 and 2 are going to do the mindful eating that 3 and 4 did last week. And then type 3 and 4 are really focusing on sleep, because that's a really incredibly important part, not just for insulin resistance, what I was saying before, but also for inflammation and thyroid as well. Then in week 6, we get into the right supplements for your type. So as you can see here, we have, similarly like the other ones, we have our video module explaining why. Then we have, say, for type 1, the supplements there. What I have is what I call my kind of best gold standard supplements. When you should be taking them as well, the supplements, where to get them from, and then we have the research behind why those supplements are what I recommend. So we have all of the journals there that I use to help me understand what's going to be the best things for you to have. So, and then what I've also identified, so what I found was that the gold standard supplements are the best, but then not everyone can afford those. We have a cheaper alternative as well, so that you're not having to spend hundreds of dollars if you can't afford that on supplements as well. So we have different for type 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. Then type 7, for week 7, those that are insulin resistant, we have the optimized carbohydrates. This is where you learn how to use a glucometer to determine how many what kind of carbohydrate and how much you can handle. In type 3, we're removing caffeine and alcohol, and type 4 and 5 are removing dairy. And then week 8, we have optimized exercise. So what's the best type of exercise for your type? And then in those, for the exercises, I don't just give you an exercise plan, but we also have, it's so loud. Here you go, you have like your plan, and then so that's your type, and then for your type, and then for example with the weights exercises, we have a video of every single exercise that you need to do. So you have like an individual tutorial for how to do a squat, how to do how to do a hip thruster, everything, so that you've got everything that you need in there. Then week 9, we go back to interpreting that carbohydrate intake. So a couple of weeks ago, I told you how to use the glucometer, and then in this week, you actually learn what those values mean. Type 3, 4, and 5 is stress management and how to kind of optimize your stress or how to control your stress. Then type 1, week 10, we're focusing on, for type 1 and 2, your sleep. And again, we have the video about why sleep's important, the tips for sleeping, what you need to do, and then any research as well that's important there. Type 4 is healing gut, and type 3 is getting started or backing off exercise, because type 3 adrenal can be one of the main contributors there, can be too much high intensity exercise. So I hope this is making sense. I'm just going to quickly chuck back into the comments and see if there's anything here. Cool, Jalissa, yep, that makes sense. Support would be definitely helpful. Good. After working with you the past 2.5 months, I'm finally back on track with diet. Awesome, amazing. So if I will flick you an email, Jalissa, what we might be able to do there is for you something around that support side, just to help you. Whereas what you've got at the moment is, we'll be going through a similar things for what you've already changed in your diet. So, but there will probably be some extended stuff there as well. So I'll flick you an email on that. So any other questions about, so what we've got, then the last week here, again, different dietary or different changes for each type, and then week 12, where to from here. So any further testing, do you need to continue with these dietary changes for life? When to know when you can back off? What about supplements? Do we need to take them for life? How long to take them for? And what doses? Things like that. And then, of course, there's all of the meal planning things in here. So recipes, there's a whole recipe book. So we have just a breakfast session, 20-minute mains, normal mains, side dishes, desserts and treats, condiments. There's over 120 recipes in here, and these are all things that I use on a daily, weekly basis. So it's nothing that I've put in here that I don't use myself. And then we have all these FAQs as well. So when things pop up, I just do a quick video about it sometimes. So, how to stop self-sabotaging my progress. What about heart disease, saturated fat? What about hormonal contraception, eating out, how to deal with that, how to deal with sugar cravings. So anything that pops up that's in the Facebook group commonly that I can see that where would be helpful to have a new video on that, that's what we do there. As well as, of course, the weekly Q&As as well, where you can ask questions. So I hope that has helped you. If anyone else has got questions that's on live, then pop them in here now. I will stick around and we will we'll go through this. But if you need to, if you've got any other questions and you're not on here live at the moment, then you can just pop a comment below this video and I will check on this later today and tomorrow as well. The other thing we're doing tomorrow is we have Carrie, who is one of our participants from the last group in our 4th protocol group. She's going to come on live with me we're going to do an interview. So I'm going to be talking to her about how she found it. So she can tell you exactly, similar to what I've gone through today in terms of exactly what you're getting week by week, but just from her perspective as a participant, what it was like going through this week by week, what it was like getting to know the other participants on the Q&As as well as myself, and what that meant to her of having that kind of group support and the weekly and real-time kind of feedback to answer any questions as we're going through, rather than having to wait a month for another appointment. And also what it meant to actually be getting the specific information for her type as well, so that she's someone like you and I who's probably gone through many different diets, many different programs, and actually understanding what's going on with her blood test and her symptoms, why her symptoms were like they were, why she was feeling exhausted all the time. Then she was able to, what that has kind of meant for her in terms of her symptoms. So what it was meant by actually putting the right type of food and exercise and supplements, and how that's resulted in her and her symptoms and what they're showing. So I hope that has helped today. as I said, if you've got any other questions and you're not here live at the moment, please pop them in the comments below. And Dean, what platform do we use to deliver? We use something called Teachable, that you then will get access to when you are signed up. And you also get access to this content for a year after. So while it's 12 weeks, it means that you can go back and review this. So today or yesterday in the previous 4 PCOS Protocol Facebook groups, I went through and basically said, hey, look, some of you might have found it was that you need a bit of a refresher coming off the back of the holiday season. Don't worry, that's completely fine and normal. So here, go back and watch these videos, focus on these 5 things, and then for the next 14 days, then you get back into a good kind of routine. So they've got that access to go back and actually watch those modules as well. So just so it doesn't mean that even if you don't manage to change everything every week over the 12 weeks, you can just focus on a few things and then go back when you're feeling that you've got more capacity and go through and change those later. So when do we start? Good question, Jalissa. We start on the 7th of January, Eastern Standard Time. So that will be the 8th of January for me in New Zealand, because we're quite a few hours ahead. So you don't need to be available any time during that day for anything. It just means that will be the first day that you get your email for that first module, which is the What's Your Why, going through that. It also means that if you are, it doesn't mean that you have to be available for any time on that 7th. So all you're doing is getting that video, completing your tasks. So you get an email for the first over those 7 days, and then you can go through and complete those activities. So, and then the next week, so by that next week, that's when you'll get the next module about the What's Your Type. So about that will be on about the 14th Eastern Standard Time that will start that one, and then again go through the week 3 is again a week later from that. We will have our first live call on the 14th, the 14th Eastern Standard Time, so that's your Sunday evening if you're in the US. If you're in New Zealand, Australia, it's your Monday morning. If you're in the UK, it's Sunday night. But what we do is we change, so even if, actually it won't be for the UK, it'll be the middle of the night for you. So, but in the following weeks, we'll change it so that it's in a favourable time for the UK and Europe. So we'll do it maybe your Sunday evening, which will be my Monday morning. Then we'll do it so that it fits in with maybe, depending on where our participants have come from. So what you'll get when you join up is a questionnaire asking you what time zone you're in, so we can make sure that you have at least a couple of chances throughout the protocol to be there live to chat to me. If you're not there live, it doesn't matter. You can still submit any questions. I then answer them, and you can then listen to the recording of that. So we do that as like a podcast download, so you can download it and listen to it while you are driving, because it's often really helpful to listen to what other people have asked questions about. And we also do a video one as well, so you can go through. And that's what I showed you before in this one here is those weekly Q&As with the actual video ones.
Hello.
So, and that's the ones where, if you're there live, I can bring you on and chat to you with me. So that's how we roll it out week by week. So it's you get your module, you get sort of daily emails helping you with making the changes, and then we have the Q&A where you can ask any questions. Of course, you can ask questions in the Facebook group as well, but it just means that if it's a bit more complex, so sometimes things are not a black and white answer. It's not something that I can respond to in a sentence. It means that we can actually have a chat about your question, especially if it's something about that you're struggling to make a change with, is that I can actually coach you through that, help you to to actually get to the right answer for yourself, rather than going just a one-liner back at you. Ladiana, sorry, I think I got that right finally. If we have blood test info from our doctors, can we provide that information to help further tailor the program for us? Example, low iron, first density, etc. What we can do, no, it won't tailor the program, but what it will do, so what the program is based on is the main issue. So say, for example, it's insulin, then that would be what we focus on, or adrenals, because that's actually what's kind kind of the main contributor to your hormones being out of balance. But if you've got low iron, for example, yeah, of course that can contribute to a lot of, the insulin resistance and stuff. So while we don't focus on that, because that would be pretty hard to create an absolutely tailored program like that, what you can do is ask in the Q&As and say, hey, I've got this test back from my doctor, I've got low iron, or I've got, they also show that I have high gluten, gluten antibodies that show I've got a gluten sensitivity or celiac disease. Then I can just give you some ideas about how to deal with that. Maybe point you to some recipes, point you to some other things that you might want to consider for that. So I hope that helps there, Ladiana. So what I'll do now is I will wrap this up soon. But if you have got any further questions, of course, please comment below and I will try and answer them this afternoon, this evening. So it's the last 2 days, we're starting in 2 days' time. So if you do want to jump on, I'll put the link for how to sign up very soon as well in the comments. But if you do have any questions, please just check them here or also send them through to us at, I'll put it in here, info at the PCOS nutritionist.com. So check any questions there as well. I hope that's helped. Lovely to see you all. And I can't wait to see you within the Facebook group when we get started next week. So I hope to see lots of you there. And and just enjoy the rest of your weekend. If you were still on holiday, haven't gone back to work yet, then make the most of the last days. And I look forward to seeing you all and all your questions soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.